Welcome everyone as we continue the 12th annual Transforming Trauma Conference via the Gatehouse online. We're going to start off with a land acknowledgement today, and welcome if you're joining us on Facebook Live or here as an attendee. Some folks are going to trickle in soon. We're going to start off with a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land that we are meeting on is the traditional territory of the many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, including the Inuit and Métis peoples. We acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. And welcome, we have some folks joining us in the webinar live here as well. Welcome everyone that's in the room. I'm here with Carolyn Smith, and she's going to be talking about living life well, thriving with trauma-informed coaching and couples coaching. I'm sure I'm not going to do you justice, Carolyn, with the intro here, with the bio. I'm going to do my best. Carolyn Smith is a certified coach for life and leadership for high-reaching people to thrive above old shadows. Carolyn, along with her husband of 28 years, facilitated the Gatehouse Partners drop-ins and couples Saturday program pre-pandemic. She coaches you to live life well for lasting change and with individuals and couples, as well as team coaching for small business organizations, nonprofits, striving for healthy teams and inspired futures. As I read your bio, I was like, this is so cool. I love it. So it's so positive. I love it. This is how we want to start our day. This is all grounded in 25 years of social justice and spiritually focused community leadership, small business ownership, childbirth education, and youth mentoring. She has a certification in conflict management, positive intelligence, and coactive coach training, a BA in political science. I know you love to watch. I would love to hear your thoughts on that debate the other day, but we're not going to go there because it's not that conference, and is uplifted by her two grown-up kiddos and the whole global village of hopeful people just like you to build a better world. That is amazing. I love that bio, and I can't wait to hear your talk today. Welcome, Carolyn.
It makes me tired. I want to go have a nap now. Thanks, Maria. And I'm on Treaty 14 lands, actually. So thanks for the acknowledgement today. I think when we're working for a better world and pulling together, we start from that sense that we don't know everything, and we need to rely on long history and good teachings and a sense of humility. So thanks. Okay, so yes, all of that stuff. And I've pulled it together for years and years and years, depending on the circumstance I was in. And when it came to coaching and came to the work with the Gatehouse, actually, it's one thing to be a facilitator, but I kept finding myself with people who wanted to go deeper or needed something different in other parts of my life. And I realized that there were some different skills that I wanted that could bring the facilitation together with some of the other work that I've done. And so my website is carolynsmith.ca, and you can go and have a look at that. And there's a little bit there about how that all comes. It's been really important for me to be able to face such a powerful and life-changing, life-threatening, and life-giving experience of trauma and childhood abuse and so on, to meet it with credibility, to meet it with evidence-based learning and good work. Because you're right, there's many of us in different modes approaching this topic and trying to offer help and trying to make the world better. So for sure, that has been behind how I've been pulling this work together. So as you said, I've been coaching with partners and with survivors as a couple of childhood trauma and of trauma. And these days, as you and I were saying earlier, with COVID, with war lifting its head in Europe again, I don't know if there's a person on this planet who isn't suffering some level of trauma and trying to make the best use of the coping skills they've had in the past and having to relearn some new ones. So to bring honest and strong effort to support people, and myself included, right? You know, we care providers are working hard to keep our feet on the ground and stay grounded and present with people. when we're a survivor of childhood trauma, when we're in a couple with somebody who is like that, there's a scary aspect to that. There's a long, trudging, hard work kind of aspect to that. And there can be great, wonderful work, but there are often dips and ups and downs. So from the aspect of being a partner to someone who is a survivor, this is strong, powerful work. And when I see couples who have great capacity and are strong on a healing journey, when I see what they have available to them and what they hope for, it's wonderful work for me to be able to help them put their feet on the ground. So I want to tell you a little bit about that, a little bit about how I offer that, how that is similar to therapy, similar to programs, and how it's remarkably different. Something else I want to give you today, I want you to leave this talk with 3 little pointers that you can use right off the bat. That's going to make your relationship a little bit better. And I bet you that's going to work in a normal relationship where there's nobody who's a survivor. But as we said, everybody's got something going on. So hopefully you can leave this talk today with 3 cornerstones that might solidify your foundation. So something else that I've learned, we partners and survivors with these heavy backgrounds end up doing the work because we have to. How many people on this planet should be doing some work and don't bother? So I am a huge champion, and I know it's hard, and I know it's not fair that we have to do this work due to sometimes the actions of other people that have hurt us. It's not fair, but I commend you for putting in another day of effort and showing up one more time and making a difference. We are better people for that. So, all this hard work, let's harness it and make it work for us. Maria gave you a little rundown of some of the different things that I've done. So, I've got 20 years plus professional background in with families of all different kinds, and with teenagers, and with community work, with conflict training, all sorts of stuff. And to pull it together, I searched for, I really did. I searched for some of the best programs that I could be proud of. And so my first training was with the Coactive Training Institute, CTI it's called. There are a few other Gatehouse folks who have similar training, and it's quite common. You will find a lot of people with CTI training. It's world respected and trains people all over. So the second thing, because there were some little gaps in there, probably related to this journey we're on with trauma and childhood memories, there were some gaps. So I went looking for something else and came across positive intelligence. And this program rose up out of Stanford University. It's a framework that harnesses the top-notch neuroscience. All the same people that we hear about in some of the programs, those names bubble up in this work as well. And this is, the trick was, how do you hang on to all these good things? When you go to a workshop and you spend all weekend saying, this is the best thing ever. And then 3 weeks later, you're like, yeah, it was a good workshop a couple of weeks ago. Or you learn, I should be meditating every single day. And 3 weeks later, are you doing it? Or are you kicking yourself because you didn't do it, right? Or you don't even remember why, right? Positive intelligence is about putting a framework around the things that work so that you can use the magic of neuroplasticity and build those new habits to help replace some of the old ones. I fell in love with the program, and I'm not alone. They've been offering a free program for coaches to do the basic training, and thousands of coaches around the world and almost every country have done the training. Sounds like I'm talking up lots of other people, but you will find a good fit. You will find people doing good work and trying to help. So Coactive and the positive intelligence. And then, of course, many of us who want to prove our credibility and support you well have certified with the International Coaching Federation, which ensures ethics and standards. So make sure to look for ICF when you're learning about these things. Some people can call themselves coaches It's absolutely normal to find coaches who don't have any formal coach training. That's up to them. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And I'm not going to judge one way or the other, but I do want you to know that if you're considering it and you're looking, do your homework, find a good fit, find someone who is speaking the language that you need to hear, and has done some good work around it. So that's just been really important to me, to make sure that it's clear and available what I'm offering. Another aspect, and I know we talk about it in the groups with Gatehouse, it's discussed in a therapy session with your therapist, is confidentiality and safety. Now, I can say, yes, I will offer you confidentiality and I take it seriously, but I want you to know I take it seriously on a personal level. My partner, we've been married a long time, we've been together a long time, and all those ups and downs. We're building businesses, we're living professional lives, we're meeting people all of the time. And my story and my partner's story are our stories. Those are sacred, personal journeys where we get to decide how we want to share it and how that informs the work that we're doing and so on. That's the same for you folks. You will find, even on my website, I talk about coaching, I talk about supporting, there's a little bit of talk about trauma. But for example, if somebody is coaching with me and a buddy of theirs says, oh, you're coaching with Carolyn, and goes to the website, it doesn't necessarily say, because you're a trauma survivor. There's a confidentiality and an appreciation for that. When we begin working together, I ask, how do you want to work together? What is important to you? And we spend time talking about that. Sometimes coaches are really good on accountability and push, and they want to challenge and they want to go. Some clients are all in on that. Other clients need a gentler touch, a calmer way of navigating such things. And so, especially in these times where we're dealing with triggers and memories and so on, that's a very important part of how I work with people. So I want you to know that safety and confidentiality should be a part of coaching, and it definitely is critical for me and in my own personal life. Oh, all right. So that's kind of some of the basics. And we're going to talk about coaching, particularly in this area of mental health and trauma work. As I said, I'm going to give you 3 steps today that you can use with your relationship, and all in the context of coaching versus the therapy that you're doing and the group work and what you know about consulting or spiritual direction and so on, and just to kind of give you a sense of how those work together. All right. Oh, I'm talking lots. Please ask questions in the chat. Maria's watching for that. And if there's a pause moment or a comment that you want to say, we'll be kind of keeping our eye out. Okay, where am I? All right. So living life well. My coaching, my work, my life is about living life well. And you heard a bit about that earlier. It's a name that I give a particular program in my coaching. You'll find it on my website, carolynsmith.ca. It says Live Life Well. Click on that and you'll hear about how that program is legitimately set up. But the idea is, what is the life you're trying to create? What does that mean to you? And if you want to, please put in the chat, what does living life well look like to you? I would say right off the top of my head, I think of lying on a beach with a coconut drink and the sun shining down on me. Ask Maria. I didn't get to go on my vacation this past winter because of COVID. So that would be something I would say right off the top of my head. It might look like a really active lifestyle and being healthy and feeling healthy. Sometimes it looks like little ideas in our head that, we don't want to say out loud or whatever, we can laugh about. But so the truth is that there's a lot of different things and they're all as individual as each of us. Okay, Maria liked going on a cruise. Yeah, I saw your pictures. Peaceful and nature and family too, right? You were with some family. So that's good. How about, being able to make the bills every month? That's part of living life well, right? or feeling confident in your work, having some friends to spend time with, right? As a survivor of childhood trauma, healing, waking up one day and thinking about the weather first or the job first instead of a nightmare might be a sign of living life well. So, what gets deeper though, like we've got all of these things, it's how you show up. Are you able to show up in your day with confidence, with clarity, with kindness for the people around you? Are you able to spend time with a family member who's been diagnosed with a life-threatening disease and be sad with them in a healthy way? That's living life well, as much as the beach with the coconut. These are parts of living life well, and healing is a huge part of that. And coaching and the work that I do is about how to harness those things, how to maybe create a framework around it, and practice until that becomes our habit instead of the old habits of frustration and resentment and anger and fear and so on. Those don't go away. We know with neuroplasticity that some of those things will exist forever, and they should. We should be living with a part of our brain that will warn us and set us off and, give us the heebie-jeebies if something is a little weird. How fast, though, do you catch your breath and say, something's calling my attention, and get grounded, and then get to a place where you can choose good energy to face it with. In the positive intelligence program, they often call it your Yoda brain. Can you get your Jedi brain functioning? So that's valuable. I'm looking at my notes to see where I am here. So I want to tell you a little bit too about, so we've been talking about the Live Life Well program, and I want to just give you a brief synopsis of the background. As Maria said, I've been married to my partner for 20 years. He is a survivor of early childhood abuse, including sexual abuse, and went on for a few years. And I'm not sharing anything that he hasn't given me permission to talk about. I'm not sharing anything that he and I, he knows that we're having this conversation today, and he also is always willing to speak with people about it. When I met him, I was 15, and I knew nothing about it. And so we have crafted a life together, starting from scratch. And what life lived well looked like when we were that age was remarkably, from my perspective, based on his superpowers and his strengths. And, that seemed strong and capable and amazing, but they came from trauma. And gradually we have learned how that fit together. So in some ways for him, he pulled back from some of those things here and there. It didn't just serve him to be strong and confident in every conversation, because for him, sometimes that was coming from a very triggered place. So we have danced what my life lived well looks like, and what his life lived well looks like has ebbed and flowed, and we've had to navigate that. Sometimes we're in different places, but this is a lot of work about pulling together and being on the same page. Okay, it's hard to imagine, I think, when we are trauma survivors or mired in a partnership that is trauma related. It's hard to imagine living life well. Like, it sounds good, but it's hard to go to work every day. It sounds good, but we're always walking on eggshells. It sounds good, but we have a hard time trusting each other. So how does this fit in with the hard work of healing? So I want to tell you what's different about coaching versus therapy and some of the other modalities that are existing. We've spent a lot of money and a lot of time with therapy in our house. It's about digging in. It's about the hurt and the gaps and the shadows that overcome life. They have seeped into everything and they have colored everything with that shadow. And until some of that starts to recede, until there's some perspective and some healing that has happened, it's ever present. And so in talking with my husband about this today, we talked about therapy with a trauma-informed, trauma-focused therapist has been critical for him. Can't do it alone. Group work with the Gatehouse has been a huge part of that. And him facilitating as well and being in the community with all of those people. You can't do this work alone. And good for you for making it through day by day if you have. The door opens up, the world opens up when there's another person to spend that time with. And a therapist has been critical for that work. Therapy digs in deep, it looks backwards, it spends the time in those hurt places and holds space there so that those things can heal. That can be all-encompassing work. The first couple of years that Jay was doing it were very lonely in this house because he was very internal, and they were crucial. So even then, there was one therapist that he worked with, and then it was time for a shift, and he chose a new therapist. So working with the therapist, choosing to spend time on those hard things can be scary. It can be hard work, but I can't tell you the difference it has made here, and the evidence and the supportive information for how those things work is where you need to start. And as a partner, supporting them to go, supporting them when they come home and they don't talk much, supporting them when it's really difficult is hard work. But it is the best work and the best money you can spend. So now that I've promoted therapists so much, and I haven't even mentioned coaching in 5 minutes, I think, I want to tell you what you're looking for. At some point when the time is right, all of that hard work and all of that plotting and all of that healing injects some energy. Suddenly there's this deep breath. Then you look around and you're like, hey, Wonderland opened this weekend. Maybe we could go ride some roller coasters. Or, there's a promotion at work. Or my kids are, bringing new friends home or something. There's some energy and some optimism and a chance to look around and say, hey, there's more going on in life than what has been colored with this shadow. And when that energy comes, what are you going to do with it? It needs some practice because you're out of practice. It needs some courage and it needs some direction. And so that's exactly the work that I'm doing with the coaching. It's about who you are and what life you're living right now, how you make it a little bit better and a little bit more elbow room and a little bit more life and laughter, perhaps, with all the pieces of your puzzle, whether it's the healing and the trauma, or whether it's just you've got 2 kids and a dog, or whatever your puzzle looks like. When there's more energy than just the basics, with a bit of optimism, I think coaching can help create something new with your life. So how does this sound? These are some of the cornerstones of coaching difference. It's a focus on the whole person, evoking some transformation, being a different person than you were when you started, finding opportunity and invitation, and maybe even a gift in every situation. Finding opportunity in every situation. Harnessing your skills and special superpowers, especially the ones that were driven by trauma, into the foundation of the life you're hoping to live. So I don't know if that's raising any ideas or any thoughts, if there's a little bit of pushback. I know sometimes when we're talking trauma, that idea, finding an opportunity in every situation, finding a gift in every situation. I know when I first heard that, it was like, how could there be a gift? But the truth is that when we can look at it from that perspective, what is the opportunity here? What do I have to say and do from this point? life opens up. And I want you to think big too. When we've been mired in that cocoon of healing and trauma, we've had car accidents in our life. We have had sick family members. We have been sick ourselves at times. Sometimes it feels relentless. How could you possibly lift your head and look at anything else and focus on anything else? Well, it takes practice and it takes that little bit of energy. So living life well is about making use of those gifts and finding a little bit of energy to put one foot forward. Coaching is a focused conversation. It holds the agenda that you're bringing, the goals that you're bringing. We spend time looking to see what your values are, what drives you. Some of us really have a value, as you can tell, mine is about making the world a better place, and honoring each person. Other people have values of excellence or beauty or artistry. Some people have values of loyalty and perseverance. Choosing what your values are gives you a solid compass to stand from and look at life around you and sort of choose your path forward. So we build a foundation based on your values, the directions you want to go, and those beginning dreams. And then we kind of push that envelope. Like, how big could these dreams be? Could you go from being a good manager at your job to owning your own business or being the CEO at some point? Why not? Just because you haven't been able to catch your breath and think about that before doesn't mean it's not on the table. So from there, the conversations are very focused and designed to dig in, maybe similar to a therapy conversation. What's here now? What's important about this for you? And so on. But drawing it towards, what are the steps that you want to take? What could those steps be? What are some options? And continue to draw that out in a forward progressing way. That doesn't mean we always go forward. Sometimes we sit back and catch our breath and spend time on something that's right in front of us. There's a question here. Some tips for working with a partner who intellectually to get unstuck from beating on oneself and find the opportunity, but cannot move forward. Right. Okay, Sabra, let me just hold on to that for a couple of minutes, and I'm about to tell you about Cornerstone number 1, 2, and 3, and we'll see how that comes up in those conversations, because I hear you. It's really difficult when they're in that space. All right, so we've talked about coaching a fair bit. Just quickly, consulting would be if somebody knows lots about a particular topic and has a program. Like if you want to do business consulting, they know about taxes, they know about accounting, they know about marketing, and so on, and they can kind of give advice and push and help you design actual steps. That's consulting. I would say that comes up a little bit in coaching, but 90% of coaching is your wisdom, helping draw out what's on your mind. So that's kind of the difference between consulting and coaching. And clearly I told you lots about therapy. So here we are. Living life well with Jay and, doing this work together has meant, the tug and pull. And I want to tell you about Cornerstone number 1, that first thing that I said that you would leave with today. And it's refocusing on your team. I want you to think for a moment about what makes you laugh about your partner, or a time where your partner has just been lit up with excitement about something. I want you to turn that into a solid memory in your mind. Consider what was happening, the look on their face, the energy around that, how you felt, and try and create that as a solid memory. This essence is what you're aiming for in your team. I want you to consider that as a symbol of your team. I know what I need in my life. He knows what he needs in his life. But when we put that together, we're both a little softer around the edges and more willing to work on supporting each other to support the team. Somehow we figured that out when we were like 16 years old. Nobody said, hey, you should have a coping strategy. I don't think that was a thing. But somehow, in the trials and tribulations of being 16 and trying to create a life together with all the stuff that's going on, we knew having each other's backs kept us sane, kept us grounded, and kept us anchored, I think. I hold on to some of those memories. We looked very different in the 80s. I had big hair. And so the image is, but the image is still there, and the essence is there of, hey, two of us against the world. When I have had my darkest days and felt the most disconnected from my partner, pulling that memory into place has given me the courage and the fresh air and the perspective to remember what the heck I'm doing here and how to lean in. When I have said, I have to set this boundary, it has helped me see that boundary with generosity and concern for both of us, and set a boundary I'm actually proud of and going to hold. He has talked about team and the importance for him. And if you'd like, we have a resource, a conversation of Jay and I talking about this in a little deeper ways, because the voice of a survivor and the hard one, learning from him could add to this. But team probably saved his life, that aspect of pulling ourselves together and trusting one another when he didn't even understand trust in a healthy way. And so team and that memorized image, make it really real, dial it up to 100. Remember that essence of why you have each other's backs. When stress is driving you, when things are frustrated, and Jay and I have noticed that when we haven't spent a lot of time together, when we haven't had fun together and all we've talked about is parenting or bills or problems, that's when life is worse. And I'll tell you, remembering the team turns us back to each other. The second we're spending time together, things settle. So that's step one. That's something I want you to take from today. Okay. What's step two? I've mentioned superpowers a couple of times. Jay was my superhero. He was strong and cool and amazing. He had a job way earlier than I even thought I might. He was independent. It was awesome. He had a little cake too. Not really, but I could imagine it. He was my superhero. Where did that power come from? Came from fending for himself. Came because he hadn't had anybody else to rely on in his life. Not how you want to develop a superpower. And yet that's something he has. So one of the best kept secrets in this whole partnership, with this as a background, is that survivors aren't broken. Partners aren't normal. Yeah, we're a little broken, but so are the partners. The partners might be more normal in some ways, but it's amazing how normal the survivors can be. And when we shake off those labels and see each other as whole people, and remember what fun we have together, see them for their strengths and appreciate that, feel lucky to be partnered with somebody who has the strengths that they have, rather than holding them against each other. I know sometimes he would say to me, you just don't understand. And, for you, it's easy to have connection. For you, it's easy to have friends. Why is it easier for me? We had to turn that around. Remember our team, step one. And step two, honor each other's superpowers. So that's part of step two. But how do you do that? When you're stressed and when you're pissed off and when things are frustrating, the first thing you do is get mad at each other, and that brings down the other person's energy. That starts a fight, and the energy is really, really bad. I think, Maria, your language would be pause, right? we pause, just stop for a moment and take a breath. This is that mindfulness stuff that we hear about all the time and we're not really good at. I want you to take a minute and we've just talked about being stressed about things. You just don't understand is what I would hear. It's hard. I had a nightmare last night. There's a lot of stress around some of these things. Money is tough. The kids are a pain in the butt. Whatever's going on is raising our stress levels. The alarm bells are going off in that part of the brain that is watching for trouble, and it's triggering your old habits, right? Maria, you're going to have different habits than I have. Jay has different habits than me. And it triggers those old coping skills that their time is done. Like, I wish I could stop rushing to make somebody happy. I wish I could stop fussing about every perfect detail and making it just right, but it drives people nuts. I wish I could turn those off. So, magic of neuroplasticity, I mentioned it earlier. Here's step one. So we've got all of those things. Notice that tension. My shoulders are up right now because I was just like, talking about this stuff. Notice it and name it. Take a breath. Do you feel your feet right now? Can you feel your feet on the ground? What are they resting on? Feel all the sensations of your feet right now. Can you feel every one of your toes? Every single one. Now, with a breath and an exhale that just drops some of the tension, what else calls your attention? It might be a sound. It might be the warmth of your coffee cup right now. It might be your back. Your knee was hurting. Yeah, move a little bit. Take another breath. Feel the way it moves in your body. Your shoulders will stretch out a little bit. Your belly might shift. And exhale and feel the movement. This has just turned off the cortisol and the anxiety and the triggers and turned on the healthy part of your brain that suddenly, that's the Jedi brain. Calm, clear, and a brain of choice. And I think that took about a minute. 10 seconds, we'll start the process. 2 minutes is really good. If you can take that 10 minutes and the 20 minutes, great. But that's step 2. I just handed you your superpowers. Okay, from here, we have unlocked empathy, reconnecting with your partner, seeing things from other people's sides. We have unlocked creativity. We can come up with some better ideas that I just want to punch them in the nose or take off. We have unlocked innovation and navigate. Hey, who is the person that you do want to be in this world? Do you want to show up angry or frustrated? No, I can be this way. Those are the things we just unlocked by turning this on. Try it 5 times today and see what difference that makes for you. So that's coping step 2. That's cornerstone 2. Now, the magic of neuroplasticity is practicing that and doing that on and on and on, over and over and over again, and beginning to take the bricks out of this path, which is that automatic old coping strategies, taking those bricks out of that path and putting them down in the new path that you want to build. You can do it by reflecting backwards. You can do it on things that are happening in the moment. And you can even do that by imagining future events. And so part of the coaching work that I do, this part of the positive intelligence work, this is the work that we do every day is, reflecting back, reflecting forward, reflecting in the moment, but then building a framework around it that goes step by step by step and carries you through. All right, a specific example. Jay, one of his superpowers specifically is details. He's great with details. He is great with making sure everything lines up and the numbers and logical fitting things together. In fact, he has built a good, strong business because he is a superhero at this. What's it like when he brings that logical, numbers, precise brain and finds me sad, worried about a friend who is struggling? What's it like if he applies logic and numbers and that when he's missing out on the key part, which is the emotion and so on? And so the work that we're doing is helping you recognize what tools you're bringing to the fight, what tools you're bringing to the task, what tools you're bringing to life. And is that actually how you want to use them? What could you do instead? So I hope that makes a little bit of precise sense. If there's another example, I'd love to hear that and maybe draw that out for you. But that's the second gift, is catching yourself, noticing when you're bringing the wrong gifts to the table, bringing the wrong powers, when the tension is rising because it's not working, and getting yourself centered and focused. Now, number 3, and that works with fights and post-traumatic stress disorder and hard days. It doesn't work necessarily fast every single time because some of those things are black belt problems. This is why we practice it in good times, right? We've talked about that in the partners group many, many times. Practice some of this stuff on a regular day, make it work for you, and build those habits because they'll be much faster to bring to life when you're having a bad time. And as a partner, or well, as either partner, truth be told, as either partner, when you see the stress in your other person, it can trigger it in you, right? Catch yourself, do the breathing for a moment, feel your toes, count your toes, feel the breath in your chest. Get yourself back into that empathetic moment and say, hey, are you having a bad day? What's going on? Be prepared for a bit of an onslaught, but ride it out for a moment and say, I just want to help. And I noticed. The second we've done that, they've noticed. And gradually we can both use our skills to get ourselves back grounded. With the post-traumatic stress disorder, with the triggers and things like that, sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but each time is shorter. Some of the hits are harder and they might take 2 or 3 days. But as soon as there's awareness, those 2 or 3 days are already better. Some things used to be a problem. And we have built some neuroplasticity. And now it's like, oh yeah, that. Yeah, I'm okay. It really, neuroplasticity is a gift. It is the gift that says, it doesn't matter how bad it is, it will change and improve with some work and some support. All right. Cornerstone 3, go for a walk and talk. I don't know how many miles Jay and I have logged. We have burned through some hiking shoes and running shoes. And in the darkest times of his therapy, we would get off the couch after supper and go for a walk. What are 3 things that walks and talks do? Number 1, how can you argue with some exercise and fresh air? You can't argue. We know that's valuable and good. And everybody's rolling their eyes and saying, yeah, that's normal. What's new about that? Number 2, is there is science around the process of walking, the process of the light, you know, the things that you're seeing, the sights as you're walking and they're moving. Your brain is automatically shifting and juggling the changing stimuli. The images you're seeing and the perspective shifts, and it's turning on mechanisms in your brain that are doing that to the thoughts they're coming up to. So as you're pondering the things that are on your mind, your brain is in a mode of shifting and shaking and loosening them, helping stuff drift away as you walk and hanging on to what's important and turning it into something new. So that's actually happening while you're out walking. The third thing I would encourage is invite your partner to hold hands while you walk. There's something affectionate and actually intimate that pretty much nobody else on the planet, aside from some little kids or moms and kids or whatever, holding their hands, that's an intimate, deep connection. Without, for trauma survivors, especially of abuse and sexual abuse, physical contact can be really, really difficult. And so opening up that space for two partners looking after each other by holding hands is flowing the oxytocin, building up that sense of empathy shared back and forth. And it's a tangible reminder that you're both there. Now, Jay would say quite clearly, there is a difference between holding hands and having your hand held, right? Let go if there's tension. Take hands back up as often as you can and just keep walking. So let me tell you, I call it a walk and talk, but we've had walks that were angry. Should we go for a walk? Yes, we should go for a walk. That becomes your default yes. It's a default, go for a walk. And we didn't say a word for probably 45 minutes. We just marched around, and our hour-long walk was 5 minutes shorter than normal because we were going so fast because we were grumpy. But we weren't walking so fast by the end of it. We had slowed down. We had eased up. We knew each other was side by side, even though we hadn't said a word to each other. And the last 5 minutes eased up the conversation and opened us up to a different space. We've had conversations that were just rapid fire back and forth and arguing. Halfway through, you have 20 minutes in, it's not so loud and noisy anymore. It settles down. We're reconnected and we're functioning better. And we've logged a lot of miles and it's been fun, and we have laughed our way through many, many hikes. So a walk and a talk is just going to add benefit all the time. It can be done in 10 minutes if you need to start slow. But how bad is it to spend an hour walking together and processing these things and being connected instead of watching more lousy, how to fix your house TV shows or how to bake a cake? Those are fun. But when you weigh the benefit, the walk and talk is right there, and it's critical. So those are 3 different things. Hold that memory of your team. Hold back to it. Couples who commit to each other have a stronger sense of sticking together than ones who are like, are we sure? We're not sure. Maybe we shouldn't be together. That's okay. If you're not meant to be together, that's okay. Just keep on going. But if you're looking for problems, I guarantee you're going to find problems. That's the truth in work. That's a truth in any relationship. When you're looking for a problem, it's kind of neuroplasticity. You're stuck in a mode of looking for a problem. And I guarantee I'm not perfect. Jay can find problems with me all the time and roll his eyes and, point stuff out or whatever. But that's not our default. Our default is that team. So that's number 1. Number 2, take those moments of mindfulness to get grounded and turn that into a habit. And number 3, take hands, go for a walk and talk, and look after each other and reconnect. That holds so much space for you two to navigate this process together of being married, of a long-time partnership as you're healing. Okay. Now, Sabra, you asked a question earlier of working with a partner who knows intellectually to get unstuck from beating on oneself. So we've got the intellectual work. This is an awful lot of that step 2, the mindfulness. We absolutely have, I'm going to call them saboteurs. That's a language that we use. There are 10 easily identifiable saboteurs that a lot of us will shuffle between, and some we have strong. So being unstuck can be a saboteur. And what that is alarm bells saying you are not safe. You are still stuck in this place, and this is an important place for you to be. You're holding a fear that says this is important, and that it's real, except it's also real that there are other truths. If you can turn down those alarm bells and calm the cortisol and turn on, I think it's the prefrontal cortex, get that working, and get some of these other mechanisms working in your mind, suddenly you can see the fear that you're honoring about yourself. You can empathize with yourself and say, yeah, no kidding, life has been hard, and this is why I have been so stuck. You can empathize with people around you. You can see the opportunity to open it up a little bit. As I said, the creativity comes back, that navigate, who am I and who do I want to be in this moment? And what life am I trying to live? And a little bit of activate to say, okay, if that's who I want to be, and this is the fear I'm holding, I can hear that voice. Oh, no, this is scary and this is hard and this is brutal. What does your sage, grounded, whole self say back? I hear you. I understand why we're scared. And I can be like this in this moment. This is a little bit of work. It's the neuroplasticity. And to turn that into the new habit takes the work of creating the habit. It's about the reassurance first that there's something we can try. And then the experience of a little bit of opening. Doing it again, feeling it again, doing it again, a little more space, and then gradually turning that into the habit. It takes work. If you are a partner of somebody who's not ready to do that work, I hope that therapy is part of life. I hope that maybe, supportive programs are a part of life for your partner, your survivor partner. For you, getting grounded, opening space for yourself to be who you need to be with the empathy for them, but also yourself, because this is hard work being the partner. Creative ideas. Maybe there's something creative that you can do to spark some joy for them and get them laughing a little bit. Oh, suddenly they're feeling better for a moment, and maybe there's some space there. You have a lot of opportunity to stir that goodness in them. It's not our work. It's not our job. It is not our responsibility. So first and foremost, that work is for you to be grounded and healthy and whole, and invite your partner along for the journey. So I hope that gives some suggestion in terms of how this works with that. Oh, okay. So we've got about 8 minutes left. If there are questions, pop them into the chat. If there's concerns or wonderings, love to hear them. Maria, if you've got anything to ask or suggest.
I actually do. Identifying your value system, because I know you talked about values, right? And I think that's a really difficult thing for some folks, especially people who have early childhood trauma. It's a core component of our phase 2 program, especially. We do a little bit of exploration in phase 1, but I'm wondering if you can say a little bit more how you help clients identify their personal values.
Yeah. There's a lot of resources about what kind of values there are, and there's always another word and another word. And so a lot of it is guided meditation. Let's just tell some stories together and then respond to those stories. One of the simplest, shortest ones is, hey, Maria, if I put you up on a stage right now and there were 100 people sitting, waiting to hear what you had to say, and someone hands you a microphone and you have 30 seconds to say what matters most and give them a gift that they will hear and respond to. What is it? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Family.
Family. Okay.
That's what came to mind. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And so family, we would draw that out, and I would ask some questions and maybe get some more words and feeling like, you were laughing too. Maybe it's joy of family, right? Then we could ask 2 or 3 more, work through some longer guided meditations and just draw out those words. And then I read those words back to you. What's it like to hear this list of 10 or 15 words or phrases read back to you? What's important about that? And then we sort them into buckets, and we actually can fine tune them down to 3 or 4 where you're resonating strongly and saying, wow, yeah, you know what? Those 3 or 4 words are just, they encompass everything that matters. And so as we're going through life and going through coaching and issues come up, I can say, hey, which of your values is showing up here? Or, boy, you sound really frustrated by that person. Which of your values do you think is being stepped on right now? A value that is common with survivors is voice, being heard, autonomy, being able to choose for oneself, right? How often does that get stepped on when you're getting cut off on the Gardiner driving through Toronto, right? Like people are just, ugh, and that's like so frustrating. How often does it get stepped on, that sense of autonomy and voice when you're at an event and they've got all sorts of dumb rules and you have to follow all the rules, right? That might be minor, but if it's simmering in your background, you're like, what is going on? Why am I so grumpy? So, yeah. Oh, Sabra says, hold the vision and trust the process. Exactly, right? Like, using the vision, using the values helps us set what the vision is. Talking about what live life well means for you or for Sabra or for other people. Hold that vision and come back to it every now and then and say, how is this showing up? How are we living into this and making this real in your life? Anything else?
Thank you, Carolyn, on behalf of the Gatehouse for presenting today. Really insightful. I really appreciated the questions and responses from people in the chat as well. I don't see any comments aside from someone in my family saying you're doing an awesome job.
Oh,
You. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Online.
And you say hi to that person.
Will
well.
do.
So yeah, my website is carolynsmith.ca. It's pretty simple. Not Caroline, it's carolynsmith.ca. Something you might want to know is there's a 30-day guarantee. If you sign up with me and you're doing the work and we're digging in for that first 30 days and it's not a fit, we call it a day and send you on your way, full refund. So you'll find what's there. If somebody wants to do the Live Life Well program, I sign up partners free. Because I think that doing the work together, even if I don't ever meet the partner, there is a way for the partner to participate in that work so that you're developing shared language and kind of floating through it together. So have a look at the website, see what's there, and I'm always happy to hear questions or answer queries. So thanks for asking me, Maria. It's been an honor to be here.
Thank you so much. And we're getting thank yous in the chat as well to you, Carolyn. Thank you everyone for being here. And thank you. You can catch this on Facebook Live post interview here this morning. And we're going to be back here at 1 o'clock with Arthur Lockhart, Stuart Thompson, Rosalia Rivera, and our friend Christy White's not able to make it. We're going to be talking about creating a Survivor Council of Canada. Again, Live Life Well with Carolyn Smith, carolynsmith.ca. Thanks everyone for being here.